Well, good afternoon. Thanks for attending again today for the COPEC Daily Financial Wellness Webcast. Appreciate everybody being here today. Today, we're going to actually have a conversation regarding the goal planning, helping grandkids and family. Appreciate Nate Quilter joining us today, and we'll go ahead and get to him in just a little bit. Little bit of information we got to go through first. First and foremost, this is a program that we do every day from 2 to 2:30, and then we have a little bit of extra time from 2:30 to 3 for extra questions and answers. So that's a great opportunity for you to reach out to not only the host of the day, but then also, I'm sorry, not the host, the guest of the day, but also if you have any other general questions, we have time and expertise to be able to help you with that as well. So important disclosures regarding COPEC affiliated companies, and also because Retirement Strategies is an affiliated company, we have additional information on their disclosures. I'm going to let you take a few seconds to look this over, and I'll give you a minute, and we'll be right back. All right, appreciate the chance to go through that. Also for COPEC, what is COPEC? It's a nonprofit organization that provides community education to the community. There is no cost, there is no marketing or sales. It's really about getting some information out there for you. And this is actually part of our financial wellness portal, which you can see on the website. And it's really wrapped around a lot of all things financial and financial, legal, planning, investments, tax, budgeting, all different types of areas like that. And so excited about bringing this new programming out to you. And this is technology, so we may have problems. So Phil, be patient in case we do have some hiccups. We'll get back to you as soon as possible. We've been so far so good, not too many problems. If you have questions, you can chat or send a question and answer. If there's a lot of questions, it's better to do through the Q&A, but feel free to reach out to us either way. Holidays, we will not be doing these programs on holidays, day after Thanksgiving, Christmas Eve, things like that. And then please share this with others. We really want to get the word out and share this education opportunity to everybody. And you can see on the right side a list of a lot of our speakers and experts that we do provide on a regular basis. For the Financial Wellness Portal, this is on the copeceducation.org website. And there's a number of tiles there. The first top left is today. Obviously, you being here, you obviously know how to get through there. So that's great. And the August, September, October, those different buttons, the orange ones, those are really the projected, expected program topics that we will be discussing. They are subject to change, but in general, those should be pretty solid. And we'll try to stay 3 to 6 months out as far as that scheduling. Also, this is an example of one of the calendars. This is August, so pretty soon we'll be getting into September, of course. And then also in the middle there, we are actually doing in September the retirement decisions education programs. This does require registration. So if you're interested, just click there. We are changing this over to web based, and we're working on that right now. But if you do register, we'll make sure you get that information as far as the web-based. But we would like the registration for that ahead of time. And that'll be on September 17th at, I think it's 12:30 and then also 5:30. So feel free to check those out. Those are great if you're looking towards retirement, you want to learn more about how to prepare for it, going through the different pensions and Social Security and Medicare and all of those different things. It's a really good review. Financial Wellness Fridays. So tomorrow, actually, we're going to have 10 critical aspects of financial wellness, and I believe Nate's going to be providing that as well. So we can talk about that a little bit too. And then if you are part of an organization, company, association, department at the university, and you would like to have a special program for you and your audience and your department, we can definitely set that up on a separate basis, unique to your group. We're happy to do that. So just send me a note through this this tab here. We can take a look at that for you. And then lastly, because this is a group setting, you may have personal questions, things you don't want to put out there, right, on this open platform that we can help give you some guidance on. Feel free to check out that tab and schedule a 15-minute conversation, or you can just send us an email at the information that was at the first page and then also in a little bit. So with no further ado, go ahead and have Nate join us here, and we'll get into our discussion of the day, which is goal planning. And this is all in the realm of financial planning and helping grandkids and family and things of that nature. So Nate, you with us here?
Yes. Thank you for having me.
Excellent. One question that I have for everybody, I am not seeing video for some reason. And I want to make sure, for those that are listening in, do you see myself and Nate?
Jay, I can see you. I'm not sure if others can see us, but I can see you.
Yeah, it's really interesting. I'm not sure why this is happening the way it is. As long as people can see me, I guess that's all that matters. But great. Thank you very much for the response. I'm not sure why. I know a lot more about financial planning than I do about Zoom, interestingly enough. But well, I'll keep looking around as we're talking here. But hey, Nate, thank you so much for joining us. And definitely like to get involved with this discussion about some of the planning for helping grandkids and family. And I know that's a big issue that we come across a lot, which is that becomes almost, obviously we have our nuclear family, we have, as we're growing up, then all of a sudden when you get into retirement and things like that, you start thinking of different areas. Do you want to kind of give us a little bit of an overview as to what we're going to talk about today and some thoughts that you might have?
Well, really, yeah, with it being helping grandkids and the family, family can be, like you said, it can be extended, nuclear, there's a lot that can go into this. I would say, most common we'll see are, hey, we want to help out the kids or grandkids with college tuition, or, maybe the down payment on a home or a wedding, things like that. But, really a lot of it depends on your age range too, so, my son's in 3rd grade. I'm not worried about buying him a home yet, or helping him with a down payment on a home or a wedding. But college planning, while we've still got 10 years to go, it's something on my mind, but still a ways away. But it's good to start planning now. So, really, those are the common ones that we see. But it really, just like any plan or any goals, everybody's is going to be different and their own. There are a million plus different situations out there. So it's, every situation's a little unique and every goal is a little unique. And it's kind of main thing is just making sure it fits in the overall picture.
You have 2 topics here. You have helping with grandkids and then also family. Do you want to talk a little bit about what you mean about specifically the family of that title?
Well, really, family can be anything. You hear the sandwich generation. You could be helping out your own children who may be out of the house and grown, but they still need assistance, to be independent on their own. But you can also be helping out parents a lot of times, or your own grandkids, grandparents in some situations. So, it really can run the spectrum, and each issue or goal that you have is going to have its own perspective to it. If it's helping mom get into a long-term care facility, you may be dealing with an insurance company or Medicaid planning and an attorney, whereas if it's your own children, you may be helping them with obtaining credit, things like that. So it can vary greatly. And again, family can run everywhere from a newborn to somebody who's 100 years old or more. So very unique situations depending on which member of the family you're helping.
So part of the planning discussion is really trying to get a figure on not only your family dynamic, but also, obviously if you have a newborn, you know that you're going to have to pay for these things. You're going to have to pay for, their care. You may want to, know that you're going to pay for their college, let's say. Everybody has a different way of viewing all that. But it's the things that people don't think about. Like you said, the sandwich generation, where all of a sudden, you've been on your own, your parents have been on your own, and all of a sudden you're like, oh my goodness, I never really realized that financially I'm now in a position where I have to do certain things or take time away from work or whatever it is. And correct me if I'm wrong, you try to go through this goal plan in the sense of being prepared for that, or at least being prepared that your parents have gone through that, or aunts or loved ones. I've even seen situations where the sandwich generation, they will actually pay for long-term care policies specifically because they know that they're not going to be able to afford or have the time on a regular basis to care for those, their parents.
Absolutely. And we do see that pretty often. And the biggest thing is just to have that discussion beforehand to know how you'll handle it, or, at least be somewhat prepared. Let's say if it's for a parent, you may have three children of that parent. So you might not be alone in helping them, maybe you and two siblings, but just kind of know how you handle it. Maybe one has time and has no money. Maybe another one has money and no time. And maybe neither of you have either time or money. So it's really just, it's best to think about it beforehand. It's somewhat shocking sometimes when you ask that question, hey, are your parents going to be okay if they were to go into a long-term care type situation? A lot of people have never even thought of it. Now, if people have been through it, they understand what a big project it is, or can be. And understand, things that need to be gone through with those discussions. So, and they want to set up, maybe the next generation to not have to deal with that. But the main thing is just have that discussion, kind of know, hey, if this were to happen, how will we handle it? Like you mentioned, maybe it is purchasing a long-term care policy for a parent, but maybe that's not necessary. So just kind of, as a financial planner, you can't plan everything, but you want to start planning as many things as you can and have the discussion on it. So.
Yeah, the amount of times that we've seen where all of a sudden their parents get older or their grandkids are born, all of a sudden their priorities change, and how many times do kids move back home with their grandkids because they're struggling, or whatever it is that it might be. Now, usually you're working in that situation. The biggest fear is that when you retire and you no longer are working and you did not put into your budget these extra expenses, correct? Kind of maybe talk through a couple examples or something where, I know for a fact we've got situations where clients, we actually have to have a very serious conversation with them to make sure they understand that while it is very valuable and important that you keep giving this money to your niece, right? And it's a worthy situation, your plan did not plan for it. And so therefore, the money has to come from somewhere. So your financial independence stability is being jeopardized. And it doesn't mean we shouldn't do it. It just means we have to have our eyes wide open that when these things happen, when you're 64, you didn't plan on it, all of a sudden you retire, and then 3, 4, 5 years later, you start doing these things. Well, if you didn't predict it, how do you make sure that you can handle those things?
Well, yeah, a lot of it is that planning beforehand, knowing that you have a buffer, and it may be, hey, look, we're okay to retire, but if there are surprises along the way, things are going to be tight and we're going to have to make changes. Maybe, hey, I can help out my niece who needs help, but we're not going to travel this year. And just, know kind of what your limits are. I always say, everybody wants to help out their family as much as they possibly can. But as you mentioned, we've seen situations, I've seen situations where, we're telling, look, if you're going to give them the money, make them sign a contract that says when you run out of money, they're going to help you. Because if this continues, you are going to, again, a lot of times there's a buffer in a plan. Hey, we know we could spend an extra X amount of dollars a year and we'll be fine. Even planning ahead for unforeseen things. And well, that's the case, go ahead and handle it. But, just know that make sure that you're taking care of, especially if it's things that you can help. And it's not a surprise. Make sure that your plan is on track before you start help. The children can get loans for college, and they can have a whole career ahead of them. But if you're retired and you have no more income coming in, your options are lower your standard of living to make, to help out in this situation, whatever it may be, or run out of money. So it's a tough discussion sometimes, because everybody wants to help out, but you can't help too much that it's detrimental to you, or else it's just going to be somebody else helping you down the road. So,
yeah, and maybe being a little bit realistic. So let's say, for example, that you are 64 years old and you're thinking about retirement, and your plan is good, but it's not perfect, but it's good. And you don't have a lot of wiggle room. And if you don't have any kids and your parents are already deceased, and you probably know that you don't have a whole lot of family that could potentially need help, well, then maybe you can go into retirement with a little bit of, not 100%, but maybe 95%, right? But now if you're in a different situation where both parents are still alive, or at least a couple of them, and you've got 6 kids, 3 are divorced, 12 grandkids, you might want to really, have a serious thought about this, of not that you want them dependent upon you, but obviously you want to be there to help in case, that situation does arise. Well, guess what? You might want to work a couple more years to account for that unknown. Not that it's in your budget, but are you going to say no? And if you're not going to say no, well, then let's get it in the budget of a possibility, and let's build that in, right?
Absolutely, yes, yeah. That's usually the one that's, hey, work one more year, or hey, if you really need to get out of your job, but you don't have much wiggle room and you want to have that ability to help out down the road, maybe work part-time a little bit for the first few years or 5 years of retirement, whatever it may be, something you love doing, and doing it 10 hours or 20 hours a week, whatever it may be, just to build in that kind of safety net that you can help out. Right. And other people have no problem saying no. Hey, look, I raised you, you're on your own now, and if that's the case, but if you want that ability to, to help out down the road, when there are more family members, there's a lot more that can go wrong, and even if it's not a parent or grandchild, I've seen siblings, it's, hey, can I help out my sister with a down payment on a home, so they can get out of renting, and, they don't like their landlord, whatever it may be. Hey, well, let's see, put it in the plan. Yeah, that looks fine. Well, if that's only one person you're worried about, it's probably not that big of a deal. But if you've got, like you said, 12 grandkids and 6 kids, and a lot can happen that is they may be calling you for help. So unless you're prepared to say no, and it may not be working longer. A lot of times you do have the wiggle room in that plan, but it's to an extent, if your plan says I have just enough to meet only my needs, healthcare, roof, food, and medicine, let's say, then I can meet those, but that's it. Well, then you're not going to be able to help, because you can't stop eating or, stop taking your medicine. So, in that case, if you were going to want to help, you can't cut expenses. Where somebody who's got a lot of extras built in expenses, they can cut back on certain things as things come up. But again, just see, is is this going to be a one-time occurrence or is this going to be an ongoing thing? Because that's where one-time occurrences, a lot of times people can handle no problem in planning. But where the one time turns into, oh, well, next year they help out, and then they keep going, and that's where it could really, really hurt long term. 2, 3, 4 years of it, and then it almost becomes a habit sometimes for the children. So, or great, right. Or whoever it is that's getting the help. So.
Now, Russ Gollowin, the attorney, I know a little while ago we had a discussion a little bit on some gifting and, the gift tax and things like that. But you want to share with us a little bit as far as some of the tax implications that people need to be aware of when they're planning, or just the tax implications of doing gifts?
Yeah, it all depends on the situation and how much we're talking about and who, how many people are involved. But there's a $15,000 gift tax limit. And so let's say I'm single and I have one family member who needs $15,000. I can hand anybody $15,000 without having to worry about filing an extra form on my return. It's $15,000 or less, and just hand it over and not worry about filing that extra document on your tax return. But so let's say, what if it's $20,000 that they need right away? Well, in that case, if I'm married, both myself and my spouse can each give that 15. So we could give 30 to somebody as long as we split it up between myself giving the gift and my spouse. As well as, let's say, the family member who needs the help, if they're married, I could give 15 to each of the spouses, and my spouse could give 15 to each of the spouses. So you could, if you're a married couple and you need to help out a married couple, you could technically give up to $60,000 without worrying about the extra, document on your tax return, extra schedule there. But you need to keep an eye on other things too,
And real quick, just to clarify, it doesn't mean you can't give more.
Correct.
It just means that you need to record it and use up some of that unified estate credit that if you passed away, it needs to be counted against it for higher net worth, individuals.
That's exactly right. And most cases, don't get me wrong, there are definitely people out there who it's going to take away later on. But for most cases, you're not going to hit that giving limit. So it's not really that big of a deal. It's just an extra tax return that comes off that limit later on. So it's usually not that you give more.
For the majority of everybody that deals with that, if you give over the 15 and you're not able to do it through spouse or those types of things, you just have to file a form, and that form just records it. There aren't taxes due at that point.
Right. That's exactly right. But where you can get in situations where taxes become due is, where you're getting that money from. So if your family member needs money and you need to take it out of a retirement account to give it to them, because that's the only source of money you have to give maybe that amount to them, then you have to go into an IRA or a 401k. First off, are there penalties for you being too young to take that off? Number two, is it, if you need to hand somebody $10,000, but you're taking it from a retirement account, well, you might need to take out $12,000 and withhold taxes to get $10,000 to give to them. With you taking that out, is it going to push you into a higher tax bracket, or push you into a situation where there's a Medicare surcharge that we call IRMA, income-related monthly allowance adjustment amount, and it's basically just an extra amount you have to pay for Medicare if you're at that point because your income is over a certain limit. So we've seen situations where somebody said, "Hey, I want to give $20,000 to each of my kids for this, that, or the other," and you say, "Well, before the end of the tax year, let's take 15 out and wait on the other 5 each, because otherwise it's going to push you to the extent that you're going to have to pay a surcharge on your Medicare." I can make it wait 3 months for that other amount, so it doesn't push me into that. So just be aware of the tax implications. There is that gift tax limit that, you're just filing a form, but there are other ways that people could be surprised if they do help out, that, taxes come in or penalties come in, things like that. So just be aware of all the ramifications of it.
So, you talked about accounts that you might take from that might have tax ramifications one way or the other. Can you maybe walk through some of those accounts and, some of the ways that if they know what it's for, maybe there's better ways to do it one way or the other?
Oh yeah, definitely. So again, depending on the goal, if it's for education, a lot of times the 529 plans are a really good way to go. There are some tax benefits, sometimes a little bit when you put in, but it grows tax free, and as long as it's taken out for college or qualified educational expenses, no taxes. So if you know it's going to be used for school, that's probably the best account.
Now, correct
Not
me if I'm wrong. The neat thing about those, and I don't know if you were going to talk about UTMA, or which we can get into in a second, but those, you gift it away. It's no longer in your possession, your estate, or anything. Whereas with a 529, it is essentially, correct me if I'm wrong, outside of your estate, but you still have a control over, right?
Absolutely. So yeah, it's an account in my name, and the beneficiary may be my child or grandchild. But if they don't go to school, or if they just make me mad or don't come for family dinner, I can change the beneficiary on the account and give it to whichever other child or grandchild. So it does have flexibility like that. You can just kind of, let's say you're saving for grandchildren, and the oldest one, you've got this money saved for them, and they don't go to college. Well, you can just move the beneficiary to the second grandchild or the third or whatever it may be, and just shift it down the line and still be used for, college expenses for other people, other family members. So absolutely, you can change the beneficiary on that. It gives you flexibility. Now, as you mentioned, UTMAs, the Uniform Trust to Minor Act accounts, you're a custodian for the account for, a minor. Well, once they reach the age of majority and they're no longer a minor, it's their account. What if they don't go to school? What if they don't have ambitions? The money's still theirs. They can use it for whatever they want to use it for. So some people don't like losing that flexibility, and some people say, no, I raised my kid right, they're not going to screw it up, even if they get this big chunk at that, at age 21 in Ohio, let's say. Each of these accounts, it's your own personal situation. You kind of decide what it is. There's usually some type of give and take with it. There are these great benefits over here, but there are these pitfalls to kind of keep an eye out for. A lot of times we'll just suggest for, hey, you can put a joint account in your name. So if I want money that's earmarked for my parents' long-term care or my grandchildren's college, hey, it can still be in an account in my name that I have full control over. And if they never need that, then it's just my account. And, but if they ever do, I've got this money kind of earmarked and set aside for them. And there aren't really restrictions. You may have to pay a little bit more tax on these than you would have if you did it another way. But, it offers a lot of flexibility if you just have, an individual or a joint account that's just in your mind is kind of earmarked for that goal.
Well, good. We are kind of getting close to the witching hour of 2:30 here. For people attending, if they have any questions, please send those on over, and we'll go ahead and get to those. Nate, thankful for your taking of your time and being with us here today, and appreciate it. Did you have any closing thoughts, kind of wrapping it up here?
I guess my main thing would just be, make sure that you're not hurting yourself to help others, because everybody wants to help others, but just make sure it kind of fits in your overall picture, because there are other things maybe they could do, especially if they're younger, or maybe they'll get help from the state if they're older and don't you can't fix other people's problem. In an airplane, they say put the oxygen mask on yourself before helping others. Kind of like that. Make sure that fits your overall plan before you go help them too much.
Well, great. Well, thank you so much. Thanks to everybody for attending. We will be back tomorrow. I think Russ Gollin will be with us for another legal discussion. And if you have any questions, like I said, we'll stay after the program here. And I appreciate everybody attending. Take care, and we'll see everybody tomorrow.
Thanks, everybody.